I am New York.
Ya am New York.
I am New York.
Yo soy Nueva York.
Sono New York.
Je suis New York.
Welcome to Diverse City, where we explore New York's eclectic enclaves, one neighborhood at a time. I'm Zyphus Lebrun. I'm in the studio this month as we head over to Willets Point, an industrial neighborhood within Corona, Queens. The area that's also called the Iron Triangle is about to undergo a multi-million-dollar transformation. After many years of suffering through virtually no infrastructure, like sewers or sidewalks, the area has been earmarked for a long-delayed development. Mayor Aric Adams has touted this three-phased project as a key to affordable housing and the middle class for hundreds of struggling New Yorkers. But, as with many developments, there are opponents. Chief among these are the auto workers who have plied their trade in the Iron Triangle in sometimes squalid situations for nearly 30 years in some cases. On this episode, Housing for All, how the promise of affordability may forever change this once neglected neighborhood. Driving force, auto workers' livelihoods in the balance as the city touts the creation of more jobs. Mythology comes alive in a yearly festival meant to create community bonds. Those stories and more coming up on Diverse City. Mayor Aric Adams officially announced his plans to change Willets Point forever in November of 2022. Phase 1 of that transformation into a new neighborhood is now officially underway. This after many false starts. The most recent of these was nearly 20 years ago. The development hopes to turn what many call a no man's land into a hub of affordable housing and a sports destination. I visited the site with a local reporter to find out more about what the development has promised and why it's been so very delayed.
This is phase 1 of the Willets Point redevelopment. Begins down there right underneath the train tracks. The affordable housing will be built over here on this right side.
Right.
Everything will be raised because this whole area is very prone to flooding.
Jacob Kaye is the managing editor at the local paper Queens Daily Eagle. He's been reporting on this Willets Point development since 2018.
The sort of impetus of this current plan began in about 2002 when former Mayor Michael Bloomberg first started to ponder the idea of redeveloping this neighborhood known as Iron Triangle. In 2002, he was also sort of looking at this as a potential site for the 2012 Summer Olympics. It was sort of tied to the creation of Citi Field and the demolition of Shea Stadium.
That plan fell through and eventually paved the way for the new initiative that Mayor Aric Adams unveiled to much fanfare. During the event, Mayor Adams used a video to boast that the multi-phase development will bring a laundry list of benefits. These include more than 1,500 permanent jobs to the neighborhood and a 650-seat K-8 public school. According to Adams, the 23-acre mixed-use development will also boost the local economy by an estimated $6.1 billion over the next 30 years. But the mayor says the most important part of this new neighborhood is affordable housing.
These 2,500 new homes will be a game changer. It will be affordable to families making $40,000 a year or less.
Mayor Adams says that this is essential to retaining long-time city residents. This at a time when rents in many neighborhoods are at an all-time high. All this isn't cheap. The price tag for taxpayers, about $300 million. The cost of cleaning up and preparing the once toxic site.
Environmental cleanup and infrastructure improvements for sewage, storm lines, and water mains are already underway. The neighborhood will be prepared for the challenges of the future as we build for today.
So who's footing the bill for the rest of it? The answer? The Major League Soccer club NYCFC. They will pay the $780 million bill for building the housing and a new 25,000-seat stadium. In return, the organization won't pay property taxes.
It's a historic deal that we have here because it's the first of its kind in the entire United States, where you're building a professional soccer stadium that's privately financed, so it's not costing the taxpayers any money to do that, but you're building a neighborhood around it.
NYC Councilman Francisco Moya grew up in nearby Corona. He's the unabashed soccer or football fan who really pushed for this deal. He says the reason this plan will succeed where others have failed is because of community involvement.
What you see today is what came out of 6 months of listening to the community, of being able to work through a lot of the questions and some of the challenges that we faced in terms of just the land itself, right? This truly is like the last bastion of public land that we have, but it was one that was sitting on the toxic soil from years of not being developed, right?
Speaking of land, all this is being done on city-owned land. The Queens Development Group, which is a joint venture of housing developers, Sterling Equities, and related companies, is leasing the land from the city and in turn becoming NYCFC's landlord. They're a major partner in this initiative, along with the Economic Development Corporation.
Willets Point is a prime example of what can be accomplished through a public-private partnership, and we want to thank our partners again for helping us realize a new era for this community.
An era that will officially begin with a scheduled groundbreaking in the fall of 2023. Moya eagerly anticipates the project, to which he is willingly wed.
Oh, I think I'm connected to this for the rest of my life. I mean, this really is a legacy project here, to be able to put something like that together.
This area was once home to a thriving hive of auto repair and scrap metal shops known as the Iron Triangle. These days, most of those small businesses have been wiped away, the result of previous city-driven efforts to develop the Strip. Shannon Ayala has more about these auto workers' struggles and why the latest effort may drive the rest of them out of the neighborhood.
Hey!
Alex Dominguez has worked in Willets Point for more than 35 years. He's one of the holdouts of auto workers in the remaining patches of the Iron Triangle. The Triangle is the gritty cluster of auto repair shops that, until this last decade, dominated Willets Point. These people keep working on the precarious edge of a looming mega development.
It's like having a cancer or something and you don't know when it's going to take you out. Or you might beat it. You know what I mean? But you see so many casualties, it's hard for you to have a positive outlook. But you got to KMF, keep moving forward.
We're still here waiting and see what's going on, but another mayor come, another mayor go, we're still here.
Arturo Alaya, a 30-year veteran of the Iron Triangle, says after the city started gutting the area, there's less business. That's forced him to swap his storefront for a mobile upholstery shop where he made plastic taxi partitions during the pandemic. He says the next stop is likely back to Colombia.
After 42, 43 years that I live here in Queens, now I'm thinking close and go back to my country. That's what I'm thinking. Go back to my country. I give a lot of work to guys, but how am I going to stay here? How am I going to afford it? How am I going to support my family?
Auto shops, scrap yards, and other industrial businesses long thrived in the area. For decades, it was known for its unpaved streets, lack of sidewalks, sewers, or streetlights. The city and state made attempts to overhaul the area going back generations. One of the first attempts was in 1964, just ahead of the World's Fair. That was when more than 80 shops lined those rugged streets. In 2007, when more than 200 businesses called Willets Point home, the Bloomberg administration launched a plan to redevelop the site into a retail and entertainment district with housing and offices. Elias says he led the Willets Point Defense Committee that united the businesses against Bloomberg's plan.
Between 2007 and 2008, we did more than 14 rallies. We go City Hall.
In the next few years, the city helped relocate some of the businesses in the first phase of development, while others were closed after building inspections. Then, when Bloomberg's plan passed, there was a mass exodus.
They closed 150 businesses, and they made these people sign to move to Hunts Point and Bronx.
About 40 businesses coalesced into the Sunrise Cooperative. They signed off on an agreement with the city to move to Hunts Point. Marco Nieta, who ran a restaurant in the Iron Triangle since 1991 and later an auto shop, became president of the Sunrise Co-op. The cooperative and the Urban Justice Center sued the city and the developers, related companies, and Sterling Equities for not having a relocation plan in place. They won $6 million to move.
When we won in court the money, I asked to the city if we can split it up, right? Say everybody's gonna get like $200,000, $300,000, and everybody can be in his way. But the city said, no, you cannot split out the money. You have to get a place, invest the money over there, and continue doing business over there.
Businesses were given until the end of January 2014 to leave. Nieta says the Sunrise Co-op was under pressure from the city government to meet the deadline when it chose the Hunts Point warehouse at 1080 Leggett Avenue.
The location was not too good like over here. The thing was, we were looking in Queens place like this, and we couldn't find it.
Sunrise tried to create a much higher-end version of the Iron Triangle.
The place was 84,000 square feet. It was a big place. And we tried to make like a auto repair mall. Everybody was happy with the place because they said, wow, it's gonna be nice because it's gonna be clean place, not like over here.
The city ultimately spent more than $15 million to help relocate workers. But Nieta says the Economic Development Corporation helped with rent for a limited time. After a while, the businesses couldn't afford the higher rents. In 2016, Sunrise filed for bankruptcy. Then in 2017, the new landlord evicted the co-op. The Sunrise space in the Bronx is now an Amazon warehouse. Nieta says some auto workers came back to Willets Point to work rent-free on the street.
If you go in that way, you're going to find more people working on the street by themselves. They have compressors, they have tools on the street.
Most of the current businesses still in the Triangle are outside of the blocks slated for development, but they exist right along the coming construction. The workers we spoke to say there's a lack of communication from the city and they're unsure what to expect next.
Mr. Moya, that is right there at the office, he not even come over here. He not even come to see anything.
We attempted to ask Councilman Moya about his relationship with the workers, but he preferred to only speak with us about the stadium and housing plan. The Economic Development Corporation likewise never replied to our inquiries about the auto workers.
It's the city of New York. We're always going to run into things, but I can say that this project has been one that has been brought in with such overwhelming support from both this administration and the community as well.
Nieta got emotional when meeting us by the Triangle.
I accept to come in over here, but I feel so frustrated. I don't want to come over here because it's terrible for me, for my family. I give all my life over here, more than 26 years. By the end, get in this situation, that's hard for me.
Nieta now runs an ice cream truck. Elias says he still wants the city to provide a relocation for the current workers.
The city can build over here some nice area, bring whatever they want, but give us a relocation. We need to be treated like a working people. Respect for the working people.
Shannon Ayala for DiverseCITY.
Willets Point is one of the neighborhoods considered to be an inspiration for the Valley of Ashes. The area was immortalized in the F. Scott Fitzgerald novel, The Great Gatsby. While the story is from another era, the tale depicts a social inequity that persists today. Linda Simidian tells us more.
The Great Gatsby, F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel that many consider a masterpiece and has been made into several films. Themes about the disparity of wealth between classes and of the American dream continue to remain relevant today, almost a century after it was written.
In 1920s New York, Manhattan was party town. The United States had gone through a devastating world war, had a terrible pandemic across the world, and millions of civilians died. After that, America experienced a great deal of prosperity, and it was party time, and we call that the Jazz Age.
The Jazz Age was a vibrant cultural and social era characterized by the music, the pursuit of leisure activities, and increased consumer spending. Miles Corak is an economics professor at CUNY's Graduate Center who has studied The Great Gatsby extensively for his work. He sat down with me to explain the economic themes in the book.
Manhattan was at its prime. It was a city full of people, an island, and all of its waste and all of the ashes from the coal and the incinerated trash were dumped in Queens. In the novel, the Valley of the Ashes and that part of Willets Point is a metaphor for the despair, the drudgery, the depression of working class America.
In the most recent Great Gatsby on film, the description of the people and the imagery of the area are revealed in vivid detail.
The Valley of Ashes was a grotesque place. New York's dumping ground halfway between West Egg and the city.
Fitzgerald's Valley of Ashes was based on the actual ash dumps in Queens. The Brooklyn Ash Removal Company was one of several businesses created to handle the problem. They reportedly unloaded over 100 railroad carloads of garbage a day, and a pile of ash 90 feet high was dubbed Mount Corona. The area didn't get cleaned up until 1935 when it was turned into a suitable site for the 1939 World's Fair.
Now, the other thing that was going on at that time was the car was becoming the dominant mode of transportation. The commute from Queens, the nicer part of Queens, up in Great Neck, to Manhattan, the 15 miles or so, was manageable with this new sporty vehicle. You had to drive through the Valley of the Ashes. And the Valley of the Ashes was also where many poor working class people made their trade. A lot of them as mechanics, and we still see in our geography the echo of that.
It is this idea that working class people will remain in the same station in life that still echoes today almost 100 years later. This is called the Great Gatsby curve.
It shows the relationship between inequality and upward mobility. The idea that you can become all that you can be. Just your energies and talents is all that you need. In the United States, our society has traditionally been more unequal than many others. But we accepted that because with inequality came the chance for upward mobility. Maybe not for me, but certainly for my children. And in fact, it turns out just the opposite. Societies that are more unequal are less socially mobile. And the United States sits at the top of this relationship.
In other words,
if you're born to a rich family in the United States, you're much more likely to grow up to be a rich person. If you're born poor in the United States, you're much more likely to see your children grow up poor. That's what the Great Gatsby curve is.
President Obama made reference to the Gatsby curve as a critical talking point when speaking about economic mobility in the U.S.
For example, by the time she turns 3 years old, a child born into a low-income home hears 30 million fewer words than a child from a well-off family, which means by the time she starts school, she's already behind.
Jay Gatsby, in Fitzgerald's novel, cruelly learns that lesson. That inequality is about entitlement at the top, and the American dream is just a myth to keep you in your place.
For Diverse City, I'm Linda Simidian.
Out on Flushing Bay, you can see people all year round, paddle training in outrigger canoes. Some of them do it just for the sheer physical and mental enjoyment, while there are others who are part of teams that train in 20-person dragon boats, leading up to the yearly Hong Kong Dragon Boat Festival that takes place in August. Craig Thompson takes us to the Flushing Bay Marina here in Willets Point.
Paddling is all about your core muscles and your legs.
Kate Mao is a retired worker from Consolidated Edison, but she's here with some members of the Con Ed Dragon Boat team for a training session on Flushing Bay. Mao started the team 35 years ago.
It was 9 guys and me, and no one had any paddling experience except myself. I'm originally from Hawaii, and I had paddled outrigger canoes, so that was where we started.
The Con Ed Dragon Boat team is one of a number of corporate teams that trains on the bay ahead of the Hong Kong Dragon Boat Festival. Jackson Koo is the team captain. He says there's a real attraction to this sport.
Today's probably going to be a light crew, probably half the boat, 10, 12 paddlers. This is in the early season, probably have fewer people, but certainly as we get into the heat of the summer and as the races approach, the attendance starts building up accordingly.
The races will take place in mid-August this year at Meadow Lake. That's just south of here, in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. Ben Chan is with another team called Metro Athletic Dragons. They've also been around for 35 years.
When Dragon Boat came to New York and they were announcing the races, a bunch of us got together and said, hey, you know what? Let's do this. This looks like a lot of fun. So college buddies, fraternity brothers or whatever, got together and we said, let's try the sport. So we went out and we just did it for fun. Learning curve was probably 5 minutes. Perfecting it took about 10 years.
Dragon boat racing is the definition of a team sport. During a race, 20 paddlers are led by a captain and a drummer, both of whom set the rhythm for the team.
The most important part is everybody syncs up at the same time, paddles go in the same time, exits at the same time. So it's a lot of rhythm involved, and nobody can do it on their own. They all have to work together.
Dragon boating originated in China and goes back 2,000 years. It was originally part of a superstitious ritual to encourage rainfall for rice farmers, but later became associated with the myth of the high-ranking 7th century poet Q Wan, who drowned himself. The paddling is supposed to drive the fishes away and let Q Wan rest in peace. Henry Wan, who is the chairman of the Hong Kong Dragon Boat Festival, explains the connection between ancient history and today.
Racing the dragon boat is basically to reenact the original rescue of Chu Yuan, who is the poet who drowned himself in the Meadow River. The idea about the whole festival, is to promote teamwork.
The Dragon Boat Festival itself is more than boat racing. There are performances, readings, a food court. More than 20,000 people are expected to attend the free event.
When the events start to grow, then all of a sudden, we also have the goal of promoting Chinese culture. And then when the event is going bigger, then it becomes something that we like to do to promote multiculturalism. And that is something that we've been doing for many years. The last few years, of course, the fourth issue become a big issue, which is to educate people anti-Asian hate crime. We are certainly, trying to engage the community as much as possible. And frankly speaking, the community have been supporting us for over 30 years now.
Despite the support, Ben Chan says that recruitment is one of the more challenging parts of dragon boating.
It's such a tight, small-knit community, but at the same time, it's an international sport. So to get the word out there, to let people know that this is available, this is here just for exercise purposes or just for camaraderie and friendship, it's all here.
Kate Mao is all about getting the word out. Even though she's retired, she is still recruiting for her team.
At one time, we had as many as 95 people. We expanded our membership to include not only Con-Edison and employees, but family and friends. And that's how we were able to grow it. We really don't reject anyone from paddling, and we encourage everyone to come and practice with us and participate at the level that they feel most comfortable.
For Diverse City, I'm Craig Thompson.
That's our look at Willets Point in Queens. Join us next time when we'll take a special look at the city's park system as we head into the dog days of summer. Till then, thanks for joining us as we explore our diverse city.